So Ahmed, I had this, interesting conversation. We have a client coming in who is essentially starting over. There's someone who had, a long career. They had, done something very specific. And they're at this place, kind of, mid to late career where they are starting from scratch. And it made me think about, first of all, how often that happens, right? A lot of people that are coming to us are going through that exact exercise. And I was curious, now that you have been at this, we've been at this for several years now. If you had to start again, knowing what you know now, I want to talk about what you would do. How would you start from scratch today
As a consultant?
as a consultant? I'm assuming you're a smarter consultant today than you were when you started, many years ago.
I would spend 90 days building the perfect website. Okay. And then I'd go borrow about $100,000 from the bank. And I'd run a bunch of advertising to a cold audience to my website homepage. And I would send probably 1,000 cold emails a day with just something very direct, very punchy, book a meeting here. I can help you with this. And I'd do that until I run out of money, and time and energy. Is this not where you want me to go, Carrie?
Well, I think you missed a step because you forgot the part where you sit at your desk and build and refine the perfect mechanism, right? Build and define the perfect way to solve the problem, create all the forms and the platforms and, get your tech stack together. You missed that part too. So
Anticipate every possible delivery issue I'm going to run to in advance. See, that's what smart consultants do, Carrie. They don't just wait. What is this, amateur? They don't just wait for things to happen. They anticipate. They predict the future and then mitigate those risks in advance. You just don't get it. You're laughing at me, but you don't understand.
What I'm curious about is how many people are getting that we're being sarcastic and how many people are taking notes because it sounds perfect.
I think it might be an inside joke here that only you and I get.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was sarcasm. By the way, total side note. My middle daughter and I were in a gas station and we saw this decal. The decals you put on your laptop thing? And the decal said, sarcasm, the brain's defense against the less intelligent.
Oh.
And we immediately bought it for my older daughter because she's way too sarcastic for her own good. In any case, so what would I do? Where would I start? So I don't have a business. I don't have clients. I'm starting from scratch. The place where I would start, and there's probably some important things to discuss in terms of why, which we'll get to, is I would initially focus on having as many conversations with people that I already know, and the people that I have access to through the people that I already know, right? So this is people that I know and the people that they know. I'd obviously start with the people that I know. And I don't mean random people. I mean people that may have a problem that I can solve, may have, they're in a business or in a role where I could potentially create some value. I don't know if I can yet. I want to have the conversation. Now, the conversation is not to pitch or sell because guess what? They don't want to have that conversation. The conversation is just to understand, like, what are you up to? What are you working on? What's interesting right now? Where's the struggle? What's holding you back? And in this stage, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. And I'm very forthright with that intention. I literally don't have anything to sell. And there's a benefit to what you and I were poking fun at. This idea of building out this offer and this mechanism before you're ready to actually sell anything. If you do that, then you do have something to sell. And then you go into these conversations with bias. I want to go into these conversations with, I don't even know what the heck to sell you if you wanted to buy something, right? I just want to understand what you're up against, what your challenge is. And I do that with people that I know. And then I would leverage them for introductions. Who else do you think I should be talking to? I'm exploring, obviously, the next stage of my career and getting started in consulting. Who else could you introduce me to? And I think for most people, we certainly see this in our program, if you actually give that an honest go, there's a lot of conversations to be had and a ton of value in those conversations.
Yeah, and at this point, you're not a consultant. Like you're really a scientist. And there is something, really true about the phrase, whatever it is, like move slow to go fast. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but whatever that is, right? Because what you're doing here is taking the time to really get clear. And to your point, just collect data. And that's why I say, like, think of it, come at it from the perspective of a scientist, a good scientist at least. Yes, you have a hypothesis, but you don't come in presuming anything. What you walk into the research phase doing is just gathering whatever it is that comes to you, or that you're able to get to in terms of data points. And that's really critical, because what you don't want to do is point yourself in a direction that may or may not be valuable, and be out in the world trying to prove the thing that you think is true. This is truly a place to go out with a beginner's mindset, just to learn. So scientist first, consultant later.
I think what's really interesting too, Carrie, about this kind of first step here is I've never met a consultant that didn't start off and get their first few clients by doing exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
And how many consultants have I met to date? 10,000 at least. I mean, we've graduated over 1,000. I probably talked to over 10,000 over the past 10 years. That's probably conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never met a consultant that said, oh, you know what? I didn't have a client. I just started posting content on LinkedIn and ran a bunch of ads and just went to the cold market. And I've never heard that before. I'm not saying it's never happened. I haven't talked to every consultant. What I am saying is 99% of the consultants I've talked to started off by working their network, some
Mm-hmm.
more strategically than others, right? Some did a better job. Some were better at, not having a bias and not having anything to sell and being more open-minded. So don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people who do that wrong and still get reasonably good results. But that's how everyone starts. That's how I started. That's the honest to goodness truth. Went to my network, had conversations. And, the thing is that sometimes, and this is true for me, you end up doing some deals. And those deals are not always perfect. They were not perfect in my case, but they got me into business.
Mm-hmm.
They got me started.
Yeah. They got you started, and they got you information, right? Because those deals that aren't perfect teach you a ton. And so, this is again about not prejudging anything, and utilizing this process to help it propel you forward and get you to a point where you can now take a look at all the information that you've gathered and start to see the trends, right? Start to see the commonalities, start to understand, okay, if I were to narrow down what I offer, if I were to, build something that's easily communicated and compelling for people, what could it be, right? What is it that I've learned? What is it that I know about what people are struggling with? What have I learned, in terms of how they speak about it? What do I know in their terms? And this is now about, really pulling that together and getting clear about now the path that you want to start to walk down.
Yeah. And to be clear, my goal in the beginning was and would be, in our hypothetical, if I was starting from scratch scenario, speed to revenue. It's speed to revenue. I want to get as busy as I can, as fast as I can. I'm not looking for the perfect client. I'm not looking for the perfect deal. I'm not looking for the perfect pricing. I'm not looking for the perfect delivery model. Now, obviously, within reason, I'm also not taking on terrible deals with terrible, I have to want to do it, obviously, right? But I'm not trying to over optimize these things at the expense of getting busy. I've got presumably, in this scenario, 30 hours of time I want to be productively serving clients for. Notice I didn't say 40, because the rest of the time you got to be running the actual business and promoting it and growing it. And so I want to fill up that time as soon as possible, would be my initial goal.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because yes, agree 100%. That's an initial goal, but it's that initial goal alongside the learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, those two things, one doesn't overtake the other. You're doing both at the same time. So yes, you're absolutely, speed to revenue critical. And at the same time, you're picking up everything that you need to know to be able to start to optimize when the time is right.
Well, and that's true because my intent is not to just get busy and fill up my time and then that's it.
Exactly.
And I think that's probably a mistake worth calling out. A lot of folks, they want to get busy. They get busy and they go, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Now I'm busy.
Yes.
But no, to me, I think that's kind of the starting point, not the end point.
Yeah, exactly. So you're working your way along, you're having all these conversations, they're starting to lead to, some albeit imperfect deals, but you're getting busier. What next?
Now's the time to start to focus and optimize, right? So now in this scenario, I am, presumably applying myself 30, 35 hours a week, maybe 40, whatever. I get really busy sometimes. Maybe I work a little bit more than I want to, but I'm busy and probably not very well optimized in the sense of I'm busy, but probably not making that much money because most likely my deals weren't the best that I negotiated up front. Well, I had no track record as a consultant and was just trying to get into some deals and get some work. And most likely the scope of those deals is atrocious, right? And there's probably some scope creep going on. And most likely I'm not in love with all my clients and some of them are starting to kind of get on my nerves a little bit, right? And so at this stage, I'm asking myself, okay, well, where's the business here? It's not really a business yet. At this stage, I'm kind of doing random things for random clients. And maybe there's some focus to it, but it's not a business yet, and it's not a repeatable process. So the question I'm asking myself now is, where's like the 20% of the work I'm doing right now that I can actually build a business around, that I can codify, that I can validate, that I can mechanize, systematize into a repeatable process that I could then focus on building, right? And so we've talked about this quite a bit. If I'm doing a bunch of random things for random clients, that's hard to grow because now I'm out of time. And so I can't add more time. I could add people, but how do I add people to do more random things for random clients? That's hard to find those people, right? And so now I want to find like what is the smaller portion of what I'm doing that seems to be creating the most value for clients. That's most rewarding for me. I enjoy doing it. It's fulfilling and is most profitable.
Yeah, and the beauty of waiting to do that, right? Waiting to narrow things down, waiting to focus is now you're doing it from a position of understanding more. So, I won't talk anymore about collecting the data and getting clear and all the things that we've discussed up until now. But you're also doing this from a place where you are already, maybe not rolling in money, but financially stable. And so you can make those decisions about where you want to focus from not a place of desperation, but a place of clarity, right? A place of understanding the overlap between what it is that you want to do and what the market needs. And so now you're moving forward in a much more intentional way. That means that you're going to make a good decision as opposed to a decision, out of anxiety or out of, some kind of fear.
When I was actually in this stage, I had a bunch of clients that I wasn't terribly thrilled about working with at the time.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks I probably should have exited those relationships sooner. And I think there's some truth to that. But the reality is having that revenue enabled me to make smarter, more intelligent, strategic decisions from a place of want and abundance and not from a place of need and scarcity.
Yeah.
Had I exited those relationships sooner or not had them to begin with because of pride and ego or whatever, I don't know, but I would have had the mental clarity to make smart moves subsequently.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so now we're at the place where everyone wants to be and where a lot of people try to get to too soon, right? Which is you have learned about your market, you've learned about yourself along the way, you have made some money, you've narrowed down the problem it is that you want to continue to solve on a regular basis. This is exciting because now's the time to grow, right? Now's the time to put the pedal to the metal, and you can do it in a way that is as super effective and scale. Not just quickly, but scale in a way that you're going to be happy with when you look back at it 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah, and the first thing I would do then is, to borrow a phrase from a fantastic book called The Science of Scaling by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, is that raise the floor. Raise the floor means raising your standards around who you work with and what you work on. So in my let's get busy stage, I took on different projects with different clients. Whatever was kind of interesting, I would do, and whatever got me to revenue faster, I did. Right, and then I decided to zero in on, okay, well, where's the 20% of the work here that's driving 80% of the value for the client, and where can I really double down and scale, and grow and build a business around. My next step would be to raise my floor on who I'm willing to work with and what I'm willing to do and at what price point, and exclusively work with those kinds of clients and on those kinds of projects. I'm not hiring yet. I'm not building a team yet. I'm going, okay, here are my new criteria. Here are my new standards. I remember a client once said, we were working with a client and we're talking about pricing. And they made this comment like, well, now that I've been through 90-day pipeline, I don't get out of bed for less than 50K, right? Whereas previously they were charging 5, 10, whatever, right? Standards is the point, right? And so once you have these higher standards, then the question becomes, what percentage of the clients that you currently have meet those standards to the pricing and quality and nature of the work and delivery model and all those things. And the ones that don't, I'm not saying fire them, but they're on the chopping block, right? The ones I was referring to earlier about they weren't my favorite deals, they were on the chopping block. I knew that when I brought in better deals with better clients at better price points with better delivery models, that those clients would end up being let loose, right? And so now you go out and you start pursuing the better clients that meet your standards, and you replace the old clients that no longer meet your standards politely, nicely. I mean, maintain good relationships. They were helpful to you in your early stages. And potentially there's opportunities to convert those relationships into better relationships and better models. So I'm not discounting that. But now you raise your floor such that you only do work above a certain standard. And then from there, to your point, now you're probably years in at this stage. Now you can start to add people, raise price points, build systems, and now you can scale.
Yeah. And so really what we're talking about here is understanding the phase you're in, right? And spending your time in the most effective way during each of those phases to get to a place where, quite frankly, you've earned scale, right? Try to do it too soon and it can be catastrophic, but doing it at the right time, it feels easeful. It's a thing that, you can work your way through that doesn't feel at all panic stricken or, anxiety provoking. And that's the way, right? If certainly, folks who could go back and do it again, that's the feeling that they want to put in place for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think it's worth noting here kind of tactically, and this may feel a little bit foreign to the episode, but I think it's important. LinkedIn would still be the place that I play. And it was true for when I first got started. LinkedIn was where I centered my marketing activities. I think there's a lot of discussion these days around whether LinkedIn is what it used to be and how much success you can have and so on and so forth. And there's some merit to those conversations, but it's still the elephant in the room if you're selling B2B, right? Where else can you build an audience, build a network of the exact clients and prospects that you want to be engaging with by name, by title, by organization, get messaging in front of them, share content, engage in a direct conversation, have them understand your story and your value proposition via your profile. I mean, there's still no other place, probably isn't going to be, because LinkedIn obviously has first mover advantage on that market to do all of those things. So I think it's just worth noting tactically. A lot of folks want to hear tactics, and that's probably still where I'd play.